Alright, you guys, so today I wanted to make a video discussing My Hero Academia's Deku, the ninth user of the quirk One for All. Now, when it comes to this video, like I said, there will be, I can go on ahead and say, I don't really think I'm going to be able to please anyone. I think it's already going to have a bit of contention going around it in the first place. But I still wanted to make this video anyway because I personally, even though I started off really not liking My Hero Academia, not liking the verse, and not even liking Deku himself, the series has kind of grown on me like immensely, and it's a lot better than I gave it credit for initially. It just took a little bit of time, and I'm happy to do it. I love the series now. And not depending on how it keeps going, it may enter the top 10, but right now it's a really good series, and I really want to talk about this series. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into this scaling of Deku. Now, before we go into this, of course, spoiler warning, I don't want to not let you go without this warning, because we'll be discussing certain things that happen in the manga. So, and you have been warned. Alright, so to start this off in the first place, we can easily compare Deku to All Might. Now, a lot of people are already gonna, this is where a lot of people are gonna have an issue in the first place, because a lot of people I noticed still don't even believe that Deku even scales to All Might. But the truth of the matter is, there is a litany of evidence that actually shows that Deku actually does scale above All Might quite drastically, and not even just Deku, but other characters in general. But even without that, it is blatantly stated in one of the more recent chapters that Deku has blatantly told All Might that essentially he is stronger than him, even when he's at 100%, and with no recoil to boot. Because if you, what this most likely means is Deku also has various abilities and stuff, and doesn't actually get injured as much as it used to. The reason why this is actually important is because at this point in the series, Deku still isn't capable of actually using 100% of One for All's power, but yet he still actually surpassed All Might, which is extremely impressive. Tell him, but that could also be because he has other abilities. Now, I will say this: he's most likely not necessarily referring to Prime All Might, considering he was not there when Prime All Might was around, so he doesn't know what Prime All Might is capable of. Meaning he's most likely referring to the fights that he had with the Nomu, one of the best fights in the series, in a wonderful way to end season one, I have to say. But he's mainly referring to fights such as that, and most likely even, of course, the fight against All for One, which is, of course, Deku was there to witness the full totality of both of those fights. Thus, of course, putting Deku easily having knowledge of what's going on. He even has, when it comes to the fight with the Nomu Parmesan, the reason why you can put him above it is because we do know that in the fight with the Nomu, All Might himself was constantly struggling. In fact, he had to go beyond his own 100% to actually be able to deal with Deku. So it wasn't a easy feat for him to do, and it's implied that even that Nomu was on par with All Might. But then when you look at characters like Endeavor, who fought High End being a much more powerful Nomu, and even the most powerful Nomu to date, you can see where I'm kind of coming from when I'm saying that essentially Deku can surpass it, considering there are other characters that surpass even that high-end Nomu later on in the series. So, with that out of the way, notice a little kind of out of context, but I'll go into exactly what this means later on. Now, he also has other characters that he can scale to as well, such as Giga Tamakia. Giga Tamakia being essentially the loyal servant of All for One, a character who obviously rivals All Might pretty easily in terms of power. Now, Giga Tamakia is such a powerful threat that even when it comes to characters like Shigaraki, who Deku does scale to later on, he even views the current Shigaraki at this point when he's as weak, showing that he does want someone that can actually surpass him in power before he'll actually follow him as a successor. The reason why this is important is because we see that when Gran Torino and other heroes and officers try to take in Komagiri, Giga Tamakia does make his appearance known and exactly how powerful he is, which he does massive damage to the surrounding mountains where they were all standing in, easily putting him anywhere between large city to mountain level. The reason why this is important is because, yet again, he then goes on with Shigaraki, as you've seen if you're an anime only fan. In the anime and manga, he then has to deal with Shigaraki. Shigaraki has to force Giga Tamakia to submit to him, but he'll only do that if Shigaraki can show that he is a powerful enough leader, which he has not done at this point. But we'll see just how powerful that has made him. through the constant, literally pretty much almost 18-hour fights that Shigaraki is constantly going to, it improves his powers, both reflex, agility, speed, everything, uh, all to a limit, to the point where we see where he's able to fight characters like Redestro, characters that should also be rivaling it at bare minimum, at least to Nomu, considering he's able to cause massive damage to the city that they're in, and can even use stress at 100% plus extra machinery to boost his quirk. And even then, with all of that being said, Shigaraki was still, after finally awakening and essentially no longer suppressing his quirk, shown that essentially just with a single touch, he's able to cause massive damage to the city that they were in. The damage is so large, as you can see in this image here, that when scaling it to the mountains in the background, it completely dwarfs him in size, showing that Shigaraki, even before gaining the all-for-one quirk and after defeating Redestro, easily should be scaled to around large mountain level, and that's just on his own. And like I said, way before he even gains the quirk all for one. And keep in mind, at the end of this chapter, it also showed that Giga Tamaki also submitted to him and said that yes, you are a worthy successor, showing that he does end up surpassing even characters like Giga Tamaki. Deku easily scales to this power of Shigaraki as well, considering even later on, after Shigaraki actually obtains all for one's quirk, Deku is then able to go all out and fight at 100%, and is even able to damage Shigaraki on numerous occasions. Though Shigaraki does come out somewhat on top, but that's also because of All For One taking over his body and the fact that he also has hyper regeneration. But Deku was still able to damage him on numerous times and even push him to the brink during this battle, showing that even Deku should easily scale to being around large mountain level to even island level around this point in the series, considering he gets stronger. Now, this is also even backed up by the movie. Now, I know that the movie has a lot of contention behind it as well, considering people don't really know whether or not to see it as canon or not. Personally, I take it as canon only because it is stated that the directors, that not only did Hirokoshi actually assist in it, but it was also meant to be playing around the manga and the anime during the winter season, during that time skip that we didn't actually get to see. So it could be regarded as canon, but even if you don't, it doesn't matter. We'll discuss kind of at the end where the range where he should be at. The reason why this is important is because we see a character in the series known as Nine. Now, essentially, Nine is like a kind of all-for-one like character. He has the ability to steal other people's quirk, and of course, even has his own quirk. The whole point of the movie is so he can go and steal a quirk that allows him to pretty much reactivate cells, so that way his natural quirk doesn't continue to kill him or whatever sickness he had. In this movie, when he finally stops holding back and is, as he said himself, he's going all out at this point, he's able to create a massive storm covering the island. This storm was stated being so powerful that it was literally going to completely destroy the island. Yet again, showing that Deku can fight him at island level. And Deku was able to damage him, though when he managed to get hits in anyway, he was able to damage him. So, yet again, put that in perspective. Deku, and at this point in the series, as you know, thanks to the giant storm that was being created, Deku only had one way of actually defeating him, which was essentially having two all-for-ones. Or two one-for-all, sorry. In this moment, as soon as they essentially go 100% and use their fists, they're actually able to disperse the storm with rotating energy or sheer power, showing that which was easily counted around, I think being around 2 to 3 teratons of force, which is easily enough to put them around a small country level, give or take, depending on how you wish to go with the calcs on exactly the island itself. But easily showing that yes, even Deku at this point in a movie, if you choose to use that, could actually get to a slightly higher scale than just simply island level. But you can actually put them around small country level. Now, in terms of speed is a probably the biggest point of discussion in the My Hero Academia community. Not both just the community, but even other scales as well. You'll see things in this point where it'll lowball the speed or extremely highball the speed, but I think I found a pretty good way of doing the scaling myself and what I witnessed throughout the series and my evidence. Now, one of the biggest issues with the scaling I see is that people that tend to downplay the series will oftentimes use the statements. The problem with the statements is that they tend to kind of contradict themselves, such as the first statement, which is Deku says that Bakugo was around 6 to 7 meters away from him, and thus he can reach him within about a second, which only puts him around about 7 meters per second, or about 15 miles per hour, which is pretty much complete fodder considering Deku runs a 50 meter sprint in about 3 or 4 seconds, which is about 15 miles per hour. So unless you're going to say that full Cal 5% Deku is equal to base Deku without using it, then you see why that doesn't work. So yet again, trying to use this statement as well doesn't actually work at all. So yet again, it's just kind of part of the issues with the statement. Another one is even in the more recent chapters with Deku as a vigilante, it shows that Deku, in a panel, it shows that he's moving faster than the speeding bullet. The issue with that is there's two problems with it. Number one, people will say that it's bullet level. The problem is that you see Deku is nowhere even near in sight of the panel, and then blitzes the bullet that's already close to hitting its target. Then managed to push the target out of the way and reach the side for them, showing that it's massively above even the bullet. The other problem is there's also a bullet fired that's not even a normal bullet. Not only can it be curved, but it can even be argued that it's much faster, considering it has a lot more destructive capabilities than even the most powerful snipers in today's society. So yet again, trying to use that doesn't really work. I do know there are people that tend to use the Bakugo scaling of All Might being able to dodge Bakugo's nitroglycerin explosions. That is another way to do it as well. I personally don't, but if you choose to go with it, you tend to get All Might around the level of about like 30, anywhere between about 30% the speed of light, around max, which is one way to do it. I personally just don't necessarily go with it, but if you do, then that essentially will put All Might being around, even at max speed, around 2.5 times the speed of light. The issues with that, I tend to want to use a little bit better scaling than that, and one way to do it is by using Kaminari's. Kaminari has the ability of electrification, which essentially basically just means he uses electricity. The reason why this is important is because electricity operates off electromagnetic waves, which tend to move at around 90% the speed of light. The reason why this is extremely impressive is because, yet again, I've seen people say that, well, it doesn't actually move at the speed of light or whatnot. It's not normal electricity, but it actually tends to have the same flow as electricity. He's even shown in the movie, for example, to be used as a natural generator because he produces natural electricity. And it can even be blocked by using stuff like insulators and stuff, which electricity is known to not pass through. So it does have the same properties as electricity, so it should be able to be used. Many characters are able to react to him, showing that even then, that should put him at least around 90% speed of light. There's other characters like Ayama's naval laser, which I know is the biggest issue with the series. Personally, I think that it can be used because it does seem to also have the properties of light as well. Not only is it shine as a light, but in a series we've also seen that when he meets 13 and shoots the naval laser, even 13 can absorb it. Yet again, 13's quirk is black hole, and even 13 even says that yes, it's a quirk that not even light can escape, showing that yet again, even the naval laser is being compared to the actual natural state of light, considering light cannot escape black holes. So it is kind of implied, being that yes, it is a natural light rather than just being some random type of light that isn't actually thing. But at the same time, there is other evidence that may kind of suggest otherwise, such as Invisible Girl being able to kind of warp it, you know what I'm saying, bend it and stuff like that, which may make it seem a bit odd. But yet again, it could just be more like hard light. But even then, there's other examples that you can use, but it does tend to also show normal properties of light as well. And even in the series, it's still referred to as light, that she can actually bend light itself. So even if you didn't, it should still be considered natural light. Even without that, you also have quirks like Lemillion. Now, a lot of people tend to not agree with it because Lemillion's quirk essentially is quantum tunneling. And even though it is a theory in our world, you know what I'm saying, in our world, the series of My Hero Academia clearly takes it and says that it actually exists in this. The reason why this is important is because quantum tunneling essentially allows for atoms and stuff to pass through a barrier essentially at the speed of light, which is how Lemillion's quirk tends to work. Basically, when he activates his quirk, he essentially phases through and will basically activate it to bounce himself back up when he's reconstituting himself back up at the speed of light. And it's even referred to as teleporting because of how fast it actually is. Now, it can be reacted to, but even Deku didn't necessarily react to it. He actually just predicted it. But the reason why this is important is because there is numerous statements and other forms of way to get these characters being around light speed with their various quirks and abilities. So, with all that being said, that should easily put Deku at this point in the series, or at the current point in the manga anyway, the current Deku should be anywhere ranging between anywhere between about small to around large island level, with country level being small country level being at the best if you tend to use the movie's canonicity. Though if you choose to not go through with it, then he should be anywhere about island level at this point in the series, regardless. And in terms of speed, he should be easily around FTL at this point in the series, regardless. So that's just how powerful Deku actually is. Now, if you want to see me use more versus battles with Deku, I do have a few in mind, answering a few debates, such as like Deku versus Gon and Deku versus Tanjiro, since for some reason those two are like the main points of contention on whether or not Deku can beat him. So if you would like to see those videos, like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell for notifications. And I know I haven't gone for a while, but I promise to do a little bit better. I have a few other videos that I do have planned in mind, and even trying to get into a narrative-like video that I plan on doing, which is more of a storytelling that I'll mix in. As soon as I kind of get the work for that, it'll be kind of like my first scripted video. So I'll be looking forward to that. In the meantime, you guys, though, seriously, like I said, if you want to see more content, let me know. Post it down in the comments. And until next time, you guys, I'll see you. Peace.